The slim frame that holds the weight of 14-year-old Mina, whose real name we will not reveal due to her being underage, appears defeated by the bulge of her belly, which is preparing to bring forth life. Mina is 7 months pregnant, following her marriage to a 17-year-old boy in 2023. She tells me that her pregnancy saves her from the shame she suffered every time she got her period. As 14-year-old Mina welcomes us into her manyata or her hut in the small village of Ileret in Marsabit County, she sways to the rhythm of her own routine as she carries out various chores. The entire hut is filled with a smoky and aged scent as some beans, which are in a pot over a fire, come to a boil. Famished from all the activity, she sits down on a woven mat and drinks fermented milk from a large calabash, which swallows up her whole face, leaving only her short, thick hair, dainty hands, and colorful beads, which fall just above her belly, visible. It takes some convincing, but eventually, her mother allowed us to interview her. Mina only speaks in the vernacular language of the Dasanach tribe, and through a translator, we inform her that we are here to discuss the topic of menstrual cycles, otherwise referred to as periods. She immediately recoils, but agrees to proceed.
As soon as I got my first period, I approached the boy who is the father of my child to have a conversation with him about marriage.
The statement by Mina adds another layer to the reasons behind early child marriages, which is often not explored: period shame. For years, the narrative surrounding period shame has primarily focused on economic and cultural factors that lead families to marry off their young daughters. While these reasons are still prevalent, the role of period shame and stigma in compelling young girls to enter marriage voluntarily is often overlooked.
The first time I got my period, I was so embarrassed. I could not even leave the house.
In many communities that practice early child marriages, there is often a significant gap between the young girl and the man she is marrying. However, in Mina's case, her husband is still considered a child under the law, as he is just 17 years old. I ask Mina about her perspective on menstrual hygiene tools.
I've heard of the sanitary towels, but I've never used them myself. I do not believe in them.
When they get pregnant, when they are teenagers, they normally experience challenges of, because the bones are not yet fully developed, so they tend to experience issues of problems in labor. So they tend to get obstructed labor or prolonged labor. And should they manage to deliver, sometimes they get postpartum hemorrhage, which is excessive bleeding after delivery.
In another manyata opposite Mina's, the cooing of a young 8-month-old baby stirring in her mother's arms ushers us inside. The 8-month-old is the daughter of 15-year-old Sophie, also not her real name. The irony of a child carrying a child is punctuated by the adolescent's small and youthful features. After consent from Sophie and her mother, we settle down for the interview as she rocks her baby back and forth in her arms.
I got married because when I turned 10 years old, I started my menstrual cycle. I was so ashamed and I didn't know how to protect myself from the blood, so I would hide myself in the house to avoid the humiliation.
This is Sophie's second child. She had her first when she was 13 years old.
I got tired of the humiliation. My peers told me the best way to stop my periods was to get pregnant.
For context, when Sophie says she does not want to experience shame, it's because getting your period under your mother's roof is considered a sin in the Dasanach community.
The pregnancy stopped my periods for some months, which was better for me anyway. After waiting a few months, another pregnancy will also stop my menstrual cycle.
Mina and Sophie say that when they got married, they were unaware that it was illegal to get married before 18 years old. but they say they would still have chosen marriage even if they had known. Sophie, like Mina, says she is aware of menstrual hygiene tools but does not prefer to use them.
I've heard of sanitary towels, but I've never worn them. I prefer to use bundles of clothes or goat skin during my menstrual cycle.